call the meeting to order at 7:03. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? Okay, then we'll move to public comment. Do we have any public comments this time? Okay. Move to the consent agenda. We have the minutes of Tuesday, December 17th, the minutes of the regular and the special from that date, and then the minutes of Monday, January 13th, special meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of Tuesday, December 17th, Tuesday, December 17th, and Monday, January 13th.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Did you get a second? I'll second.
All right, we got Peggy just did, so all in favor, say aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
minutes are approved. Second opportunity for public comment. Do we have any board comment? Okay, celebration of learning, I think we're gonna skip that this month, because.
We have one if you
Oh, we
want
have-
one.
Oh,
Okay,
I just, it's our possum news. And so that is on the Royalton campus. Adam Justice, our new eco and PE teacher, came with this positive newscast that he did in his previous school. It's adorable. We did it Thursday mornings. It shifted to Wednesday mornings. It's less than 10 minutes. And he solicits a 5th grader and a 4th grader to come in and help him lead this newscast. And he preps them, and he has a little format. And the whole goal is to be positive. They make up fake names. They wear really fancy suits and ties. It's adorable. It's fun, and they prep, and it's just nice because it is positive news. And he looks back in history. So, I interviewed him for about 20 minutes about this, and I was going to put it all together. But I think actually it's adorable. It speaks for itself. So just let you watch it and
All right.
ask any questions you have.
Good morning, welcome to the Possum News. I'm Brian Butts, and today I am joined by my 5th grade correspondent, Reagan Fields, and my 4th grade correspondent, John Bronson. Today in school news, this week's Positivity Project is focused on kindness. Every day we get lots of chances to be kind to family, people we know, people we don't know, and today's challenge is to be on the lookout for those opportunities. Not necessarily to help anybody or do anything super extra above and beyond, but a simple hello goes a long way. Lunch today is spaghetti with meat sauce or regular sauce, steamed broccoli, and garlic toast. Today's holiday is International Volunteer Day and National Comfort Food Day. So why don't we go out and help somebody out and then go home and eat our favorite food. This week in birthdays, we're going to head over to John Bronson. Whose birthday is it this week?
Monday the 2nd is Miss Kylie's, and Thursday the 5th, which was today, is Gwen Blodgett's, who's sitting right now. Right.
I believe my co-host is a little confused because this is Reagan Fields, but I believe they're good friends. Today in world news, we're going to head over to our 5th grade correspondent, Reagan Fields. What's happening in the world today, Reagan?
In a heartwarming Thanksgiving reunion, retired military dog Jacob successfully reunited with his former handler, U.S. Army staff, Sergeant Peyton May, in San Antonio, Texas. The Belgian Malinois, who served for nearly 7 years in explosive detection and patrol alongside May during a 9-month deployment in Iraq, is now 8 years old American Human Facility. The reunion expression of gratitude for bringing Jacob home after his distinguished service. Through their international meeting was a bit chaotic. May quickly rekindled affection for the big baby dog. They spent nearly every moment together while serving after being separated in 2020, when May was reassigned as determined to bring Jacob back into life. Upon learning of Jacob's retirement, the organization, which supports military dog community, will also ensure Jacob receives free veterinary care, extinguishing Jacob expected to join May on his next deployment to Italy, where they can both enjoy a well-deserved, relaxing retirement together.
Thank you so much, Reagan. What a wonderful story. Congratulations and thank you for your service to Diego. So we are going to head, today in world history. Today in world history, Nelson Mandela died at age 95. He was an anti-apartheid activist. Apartheid is basically where they try to separate people of different races and ethnicities. So he was anti that, so he was trying to stop that. And he was a very, very influential person to South Africa and all over the world. He actually spent 27 years in prison on a place called Robben Island. After he was accused of committing a crime, he was already in prison when the crime was committed, so he couldn't have done it. So he spent 27 years in prison for a crime he never committed. And then when he got out, he was so beloved for his calm, respectful demeanor that people elected him to be South Africa's first president. And so he's a really amazing person. So thank you so much for all the stuff you did, Nelson. We're going to head over to John Bronson for our weather. How's the weather look today, John?
Today there's a high of 35 and a low of 19. With snow showers. And tomorrow, the high will be 28 and the low will be 14. On Saturday, high of 23, low of 17, and on Sunday, high of 35, low of 30, and morning snow showers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. We are going to then head over for our quote of the day to Reagan. What's the quote of the day today, Reagan?
It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light.
Right, that was from our wonderful philosopher named Aristotle. So my last little note I want to make today is it might be a little chilly in the school today, but we're strong. We're from Vermont. Take care of each other, help someone if they need help, and let's stay warm together. All right. From all of us here at Possible News, we hope you have a great day. And in the word of the Positivity Project, turn your kindness on it. Have a great day, everybody.
So that's Adam. We all the classrooms log in basically to a Google Meet in the Wednesday morning, and you never know who he's going to have with you, but we know the kids always pick from this website that has positive news, and 99% of the time he says they pick a story about animals. You can pick all these other stories, but the gem tends to be an animal story. So they have some agency, they go home and practice, and it's been a really lovely addition to the Royalton campus.
Nice.
Thanks for letting me share.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing. Okay. Jamie, superintendent report.
Well, I'm glad I got to catch the end of that. I did get a preview earlier today. It's really good. So you have my superintendent report in hand. Just a couple things I wanted to add. One is I sent you all a link to the YouTube page, which would get you to the governor's address tomorrow, to the joint legislative session in regards to providing an overview of the administration's proposal in regards to what we believe will be kind of three buckets. One, the proposed changes in regards to education financing and the finance formula, which I expect that we'll see some type of foundational formula relayed tomorrow. And then also in regards to changes that the administration's recommending for governance across the state. And the third thing would be what changes the administration is going to propose in regards to the future of public ed in regards to possible efficiencies that they're going to recommend based on like school structure. So think class sizes and or building sizes for schools. And I do expect the legislature to take up those proposals in committee. And, you know, you'll see most of that action happen in the House Ways and Means Committee. You might also see some of it happen in regards to appropriations, and then, of course, Senate and House Ed. So those are the committees that we're going to want to be paying close attention to in regards to the upcoming session. And, you know, by all indications, that, I would say in regards to the legislature and the administration is that we should expect at the end of this session some type of what I would conclude to be some pretty expansive policy changes in regards to education, in the future of education in regards to funding coming out of this current session. I think if you listen to the administration, but also if you listen to the Democratic leadership in regards to the legislature, both sides are saying that they're looking to make some pretty significant change. So I'll continue to update folks and let folks know what's being talked about. I'm going to on Thursday to a session in Montpelier where I'll be with other superintendents to hear from both the Senate and House Ed and be with representatives from both of those committees. So we'll get a reaction the day after the governor's address, which is tomorrow afternoon.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Jamie?
The only other thing I was going to add is I did have some constituents from Royalton join me for, and I recommend to everyone, next month, if you want a really great breakfast at the Tunbridge Rec Breakfast at the downstairs of the Tunbridge Town Hall. I'm a guest cook. I just was on Sunday, and I'll be the guest cook the third Sunday in February. We talk budget and eggs, and we had about 150 people come from 8 to 12, and we, like I said, we had constituents from Royalton is there as well. I don't think I saw anyone from Bethel, and of course Tunbridge and Chelsea, but you cannot beat this all-you-can-eat breakfast. You name it, we make it. So mark your calendars in February. We can talk budget and eggs.
All right. On to the principal's report. Social emotional winter data reports.
So those are in front of you, and I don't know if our board report made it to you, but I shared it with you just in case, and it's here also for viewing. So I don't know if you want to start with the SEL reports or just the regular board report.
And I guess board report and then SEL report.
I think highlights from the board report are just we keep on keeping on with our PD for teachers. Most recently, we have teachers signing up to take exploring real world connections in math and resetting special education evaluation process with purpose, and then a class on exploring dyslexia. And then I would highlight, I think mostly that we have just almost at the end of this week wrapped up our assessment window. So in the elementary, that means the DIBELS assessment and Track My Progress. And I think everyone's feeling really good about those assessments because preliminarily we're seeing a lot of growth in the data, but we'll report on that next week or next month. And then other highlights are just we're feeling really good about the winter activities that are going on in the elementary and just having everyone participate in something. So beet brownies are being made, lots of kids going off campus, but the kids staying back on campus are going cross-country skiing and snowshoeing and having a great time doing all the things too. So that's my highlights. Do you want to look at this?
So
You have
while
it?
he's getting over, refreshing his memory for the middle school, in addition to what Andrea said, yes, and I think we're finding across both of our sides of the building, I would imagine on both of the campuses, that we're finding out what expanded mental health resources actually looks like and what collaborating with the community in new ways looks like. Specifically, we have added resources and personnel through Clara Martin addressing different kinds of needs. So we have clinicians working on our campus, bringing needed mental health resources to the students directly here. We've also begun meeting across our campuses with partners in the healthcare industry, Health Hub, partners at Gifford, South Royalton, truly defining what wraparound services look like when you have 6 different resources all speaking about how they're supporting a family and a student. So that work continues to move along. In addition to where we are in the school year, we're just wrapping up tomorrow now the end of our Track My Progress, our winter benchmarking, something that on some level is happening again across all our schools. So we are looking at that data, both the math results in the middle school that we had last year and also the last 2 days of English language arts. We'll be looking at that in our data teams. Again, very similar process happening with our colleagues across the two campuses, although I believe you might have a different focus. This time you're looking purely at math tomorrow. Point being, our data teams continue to look at whatever the most recent batch of data is to inform our next steps, interventions, universal instruction.
At the high school, our Fast Bridge assessments are coming up this next month, starting this week. Program of studies we've been working on, and so that we meet the needs of all of our students. So like the math scores of some of the students have been a little rough with COVID, so we're working on getting those at a higher level. And we offered transitional math 3 so that students could take that so that they would be ready for algebra, something that the math department's working really hard on. We've talked about Freshman Academy and support for our success. Sometimes that transition is really difficult and we're kind of missing kids and they're not getting their credits. So we're working on a Freshman Academy, like maybe the first semester, of what we can do to help support them to be good students and understand what the high school is all about. Some of the community things that we've done recently is our community night on school safety. We had the police department in there, and it was a great conversation on school safety. Braden Rust is one of our basketball players who scored 1,000 points. We went all the way to Twin Valley to watch that, which was a fun event. We kind of like went in and just took over with our yellow shirts and our cake and stuff. So it was nice that the athletic director, assistant principal, and the coach allowed us to do such a thing. But it was fun, and it was a big Wildcat night. Some of the people wouldn't wear their yellow shirts until he was close, and he needed just 2 points after halftime. And it took him to almost to the end of the third quarter to score it, but when he did, we erupted, and that was fun. Our culinary arts department had a dinner that they served for some of the teachers, which was really nice to see the kids in action. They even had 2 bouncers at the door. I mean, they were really official, so it was fun. Just recently, we went through our senior capstone, and if you didn't get a chance to see that, it was just really awesome to see some of these seniors present their capstone projects and things. And, you know, what a great connection to have with these seniors. I went to every one except for 4, I think, because I was busy doing other ones where I was assessing them, so I wasn't able to sneak off. So I'd start in one and then go to the other, and so I got to see almost every senior. And now the conversation when I see them is about their capstone and, like, how can we support you when you graduate. So it was really I want to thank Felicia Allard and Ben Boyington for all their extra work and effort to provide that. Our basketball teams are doing great. Our boys are undefeated. Our girls have lost 2 games. Unfortunately, the 2 games they lost was at Hartford, and one of the girls from Hartford scored her 1,000th point, so that was a big celebration for them. And then the second loss was at West Rutland when the girl from West Rutland scored her 2,000th point. Yeah. So that was pretty. I feel bad that we're like the people that are doing that, you know, like we have to go to celebrate their, but it was nonetheless still pretty exciting. Our track and field team, Amari Taylor qualified for the nationals, so she'll be going to Boston to compete as a shot put, and Ellis Bogardus missed by like a centimeter to qualify, so it was so close, but he PR'd personal record for that. So, and I'm going to get right into our SCL report so that I get to go first once. So I wanted to say, if you get to that report, I wanted to just start by saying that last year at this
Cookies
time,
you made, Coach?
What?
Are those cookies you made?
Donuts.
He did not make
I
them.
did not make those. Yeah.
Hey, you made those?
Yeah, bring those
They
right
smell
down.
really
Yes,
good.
I
Take
are.
the
So they're
whole
really
thing.
good.
Take
Yeah.
the whole thing.
I haven't
Smell
baked
those, yeah.
beans since
Oh, okay.
11.
They're all
The more
yours.
you eat, the less I will.
So last year at this time, I reported that we weren't doing very good with our some of our majors, and it was skipping and tardiness. And I know the board asked me, like, where are they going? What are they doing? And I'm like, I have no idea. And so this year, I said, that's going to be something that we're going to talk about. We're going to have some new procedures in place so that when kids aren't where they're supposed to be, we know where they are and we're finding them and putting them back into class. And Miriam Clark has been a big person that's been supporting us in that cause. So before, we'd have to get the attendance by the end of the day. Kendra would send me a list of the people that were tired here, and it was too late. And sometimes a list with 20 kids, and depending on my day, I couldn't get to that, and we just missed out. And if you miss out when a kid does something, I'm finding out if they got away with it, they're probably going to do it again. So Miriam is now getting the report as soon as it happens. So if it happens period one, midway through period one, she's contacting the student to find out why he was tardy and giving them a detention. So it's a minor fraction. It's just we started with a lunch detention. You have 2 of those, and then it goes to an after-school detention. And we haven't gone to an in-school because it seems to have worked itself out. So on that first page, we had 114, and then only 66 this year. So it's been really working, and I'm excited about that. So if you think about the 2 big things are skipping and tardiness, we've kind of corrected that. And I think the second one was phone use. There was a lot of fractions with phone use. And now we have a procedure in place for phone use as well. Kids come in, they put the phone in their hotels, and then teachers are counting the kids. There's 15 students in your class, there's 15 phones. You can use the bathroom pass, you can do whatever. If there's 14 phones, then you can't go to the bathroom. So we've had some issues with some kids not wanting to give up the phone, and we talked about being a team player. Because of you, these kids can't go to the bathroom. So then they put their burner phone in. No, they put their phone in, and it hasn't been much of a problem. So I think that's some of that as well. A couple of, as you turn the page there, we've reduced, this year has been really good. As far as taking, and you take care of some of those majors, and I think that it just falls in place. Last year, as you notice on that graph below, on Wednesday was a big problem, and we kind of talked about that. I hate to say this, but it's like it kept looking like the middle finger, it was such a high graph, that middle finger pointing at us. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure it out. And then we looked at our schedule, and it was because we had 4th block, which was our exploration, and then we went to lunch, and then right after lunch we had callbacks. And some kids didn't take advantage of either, so it was like 3 periods of them just finding a place to get in trouble. And we found that too much downtime, so we switched the schedule. And that's the big difference that you see there, is the schedule change. And that's about my report. Are there any questions? Okay, you guys can rock, paper, scissors.
I'll go next.
Go.
I was going to say, if I could say real quick.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like those are easy solutions, so it's a nice, what a great cause and effect.
Yeah.
So those look much better.
I was so embarrassed last year because, things just happen and you're like, you don't realize it, I guess, until you start this meeting. And I think it was you who asked me, where are they? What is going on? And I'm like, I really couldn't answer you. And I was like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and we kind of did. So, yeah.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. We believe in restorative practice too. Not just the punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a lot of conversations about being in class and what the importance of being in class for that first 20 minutes and on time. So we do have a lot of hall monitors now. So we're talking about next year's schedule actually having 4 minutes in between class instead of 3, because 3 is tight. I mean, the halls are busy. If you're down in the band room and you're going to and then the hallway there between the gym now is closed because of the weather. It's a long ways around. So I kind of like 3, but I think next year's schedule, we're looking at just changing that for an extra minute. So.
Good. I also like the,
Okay.
getting them immediate feedback when you have.
Yeah, I know. When it was 3 days, it just wasn't effective, right? Why do I have this detention? And I forgot. I don't know why. Well, yeah. So.
It was sort of funny to see the student behavior at the beginning of the year, because they were marched right into the office because Miriam would send them an email and be like, where are you? Why are you in class? They were really what is going on?
Yeah. There's a new general in town. It was really good. Yeah. But even that took a little bit because we didn't hand it off to Miriam. But Shane and I thought we could do that. We could get the reports, and Miriam was reporting to us, and then we were taking care of it. And it was in our busy day sometimes between meetings and being off campus, it was just not doable. So we're like, Miriam, you're in charge.
Okay, so ideally when the three different levels of our school system are functioning. We're setting our students up for success in the next chapter. So the first thing I'll touch on is similar to the high school, we wanted to look at how students are accountable for where they are during a school day. Skipping and tardiness aren't our biggest presenting issues, but they certainly cause disruption when a student reenters an environment. It's a safety issue in terms of us being accountable for where a student is. And overall, it seemed like a system that needed to be put into place and adhered to. So our teachers, when they send a student out of a class, there's the generic bathroom pass, controls one at a time. You don't have groups of students leaving a classroom. If they're sending them to a resource to collect something from X, Y, or Z, they're sent with a pass. Where that comes into the accountability piece, a student arriving at a class late, and we do have a bell system that defines specifically what late is. They will be turned away and asked to get a pass from either the teacher/adult who kept them, or if there isn't a good reason, they come to the office where we track that number. Once a student hits 3 tardies to class, we too assign a lunch detention. I think a part of our system we need to continue strengthening, frankly, is the next part. If that continues to be a habit, a problem, how do we sustain the after-school detention? It's a piece of our system, again, that we'd like to build more strongly, more reliably, and consistently. But that is one of the ways we're looking to address that specific behavior. Last year, when I presented to you at this time, we were very much focused on physical aggression and the situations that led to that level of unsafety or unsafe behavior. We defined that as anything from walking by someone and snapping their hat off their head, putting hands on, anything beyond a congenial high five, fist bump, quick side hug. We took pretty seriously. I think the data shows that that part of the system response has tamped those specific behaviors down. No matter how you look at graphs of our data, physical aggression has fallen well out of the top 3. Included in this packet are 2 different graphs, and I know you're savvy enough to notice that the scales are different. On what would be the second page of or the second graph, you'll see referrals by behavior. That graph is useful in terms of showing us what are the biggest trends. It includes all minor and major behaviors. So in sum total, there are about 300 write-ups, of which only about 1/6 of those are majors resulting in some kind of exclusionary discipline, meaning administrator managed, something beyond a detention. As we look at what our largest issues are and where those are occurring, unstructured times, defiance, disrespect presented to a teacher, we have had to include restorative practices with teachers. We've had to find different ways of repairing that damage done to the relationship beyond just what's the support for the student, where are they operating from, where did that come from, but also how can we turn that situation around, have them be accountable and successful in the classroom. You may get the impression from that really large bar of defiance that it's something completely widespread, but in reality, if you dig further down into the data as we have in our discussions, you see repetitive trends with a small number of students. We could have academic conversations about impact on the learning environment, on other students potentially mimicking the behavior, but for our purposes, the students, when we drilled down and looked at those repetitive, even minor incidents, which teachers are writing up, we see patterns, we address that, we've put into place various things like restrictive passes so that basically the students' movements through the building are known, escorted by an adult, keeping them accountable to where they need to be. We do not instantly return a kid to class with a pep talk, as the stereotype might go nationwide. That's not a response typically when a student is defiant or disrespectful to a teacher. Identifying that as a major issue to continue working on does not mean I offer you the magic wand solution. There's still a lot of work to be done in terms of both the professional development we're working through as a whole staff, but also in those individual interactions with the teacher. Helping depersonalize that situation in the sense of working through the behavior, what are the criteria to get back into class, holding them accountable to the task. The last one I mentioned is if they're using defiance, disrespect as the easy button to get sent out of class to avoid a task, we don't let them out of that in the office or in one of our student support rooms. The task is still presented to them, and it's still a requirement. They can't avoid the task, and we've, in a sense, tamped down the behavior by holding to that line. In terms of next steps, right now we're seeing the benefit of some pretty important investments in the systems from internal folks, support through central office. There are examples in the report, but I'll mention one. Having a regular cycle of when we have the conversation. We hear the teacher's concerns on a Wednesday. The entire SEL team, all of our support providers, meet on Thursday, again, supported by a variety of folks, and action steps are then enacted. We report back out on Wednesday. Having just that simple cycle and system of what are the concerns, what's the data showing us, folks gathering together to talk about the next steps in intervention with our whole support network, and the reporting back out on action steps. I think that's been pretty strongly in place for the last couple of months, and we've seen that system. Coming back from break, we have had dramatically fewer write-ups, dramatically fewer referrals to the office, and far more occasions where students are attending full class time, as opposed to, again, hitting that easy button. If I show this behavior, I don't have to be in this environment. I can leave. Other things to consider. Some other examples are mentioned in the small pieces of what we've tried to do beyond systems. There's no replacement for presence. So part of the proactive is when we identify by a time there's a particular difficulty in a transition, or we notice expectations aren't being held to in a lunch environment, let's say, having the beyond just show of force, but a lot of adults working in that environment. If there's an issue, send resources to that. For example, transitions in the hallway were a little too loud, kind of disruptive. So just having student support coordinator, myself, other adults as available, we'll have walking meetings instead of going behind closed doors. For general talk, we'll come out in the hallway and walk the hallway. Hey, where are you supposed to be? Hey, can I see your pass? That kind of traditional stuff, but also, interacting with the students along the way. Hey, let's get where you're going. While we're on the way, tell me about what you're heading to, what's going on in that class. Trying to get them involved in the discussion on their way to the class. So again, no replacement for presence, and we see that and beyond just, Kate had mentioned she and I are doing that, but the reality is any number of our adults are stepping out in the hallway during those transitions, are stepping up. Hey, I notice we're down an adult in the cafeteria. The two of us will go down there if you'll cover this. So there's a lot of flexibility leading to bolster that presence. Questions?
Okay. So hopefully you had time to look at our report in advance, and I should just give credit to Sandy and Kylie, the student support coordinators at the elementary, who really put this together for us at the elementary. I think our report really highlights a lot of the proactive things that we do on a daily basis, just to help build our community. We're on year 2 of the Positivity Project, which we use during our morning meetings, as highlights character traits that we focus on. So if you follow us on social media, you'll see that we acknowledge kids for prudence, for kindness, like we've mentioned in the Possum News, and just different character traits. So we really talk about them and explain what they are to kids, and there's some great videos that help kids connect with them. New this year, but connected to Positivity Project, during our Wildcat time, we are using part of the Positivity Project to focus on building specific skills. So I mentioned it in my previous board reports, but we've been talking about explicitly how to communicate and be a good communicator. Recently, emotional regulation we just wrapped up, and now we're moving into conflict resolution. So hopefully building skills for kids as they grow. Continuing with peace places, everything that we've been doing, we are still doing with acknowledging kids as classrooms, as whole school. If you've checked out our charts, I think that every year is different. It's hard to compare because kids move out, kids move in. We went over this as a whole staff to look at our data. And I think their takeaway as a whole was, yeah, it felt like we peaked in October. That was like, we started with the honeymoon phase, and now we're on a downhill, like, okay, things are calming down and settling in, was their takeaway. And I think the biggest takeaway is, even if you like focus on these 2 pages, to flip the page, because for me, it is that 92% of our kids universally are just doing a wonderful job with generally what we do. And, I still think that our overall triangle looks pretty darn good. I think it's important to highlight that new this year, having a homeschool coordinator, Sarah Palmer, who really probably supports more in the middle school and high school, but has been really beneficial, I think, also in the elementary, just to connect with families where they're at and in their homes, to help with our just getting kids to school or meeting people where they're at if being at school isn't a good thing. So I really just want to say kudos to Sarah Palmer. She's worked hard to connect with outside agencies too to help our kids. So it's been wonderful to have her as a new addition. And also having Kylie on the South Royalton campus, the addition of that this year has felt more balanced for me. Being across 2 campuses, it feels like I have a nice backup on both campuses. Finally, I think I just wanted to mention, we just keep on trying to think of proactive things. So in addition to the peace tables, Mr. Justice, who we already highlighted, saw somebody who's part of their plan was to take a brain break, and he was like, everyone should be able to take a brain break. So he added this little workout space, which is right next to Michelle Pringle's office, our school counselor in Royalton. He's got a bunch of posters up there, so kids can universally, if they need to go take a brain break, sign out 3 minutes, go pump some iron or whatever, and then go back to class. So we're working on adding that here too. So I think it's been wonderful, and we're just going to keep on trucking with what we're doing. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I guess the questions I would have, so going from 2% to 3% of the intensive, that's probably like 2 kids. Right?
Like I said, kids move in and kids move out, right?
Yeah. I'm just
right. That's
looking for like the
Yeah.
magnitude here. It's like not much.
Yeah. Doesn't take many kids to have some bad days for our data to shift.
Right, yeah, for sure. Do we, like, with our interventions to kind of target those groups, how often do we see kids moving from different levels of the pyramid? You know what I mean? Like, are we effective at
Yeah, I think we can
targeting?
say that we have effectively seen a lot of kids who are like on the Chico program graduate. We've had big celebrations, and we've also seen that like some kids, the Chicos check in, check out. They have a piece of paper. It helps rate them on different 45-minute increments of their day, whether they're being respectful, responsible, and safe, right? Just for background for the world. And some kids, while we want to graduate them, they just need that piece of paper. It's like their security blanket. And so they kind of sabotage because they need it back. They can't, and you give them that paper back and they're fine. I think it's harder to transition those kids in the red, right? Like, it's much harder. But we have seen success. I'm not going to say we haven't. We have had kids that, I can think of some kids that are doing really well right now. But it takes more than just the school, right? It takes those outside resources. It takes therapists. It takes engaged families. It takes a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of books about trauma, but I'm not sure we figured out which one's the right one that has all the answers yet, right? So,
May I show you something?
you have the book?
No. I think it's fairly illustrative, and I guarantee you, my colleagues here could show you a very similar graph. This is a very specific student graph. The name is not on there, but you can see how dramatic that difference is. For the sake of board members at home, perhaps.
That's the audience.
Yeah, I think the owl down there.
So you can see a pretty dramatic shift when interventions were enacted. That student was one of our top 3 referrals, and again, I guarantee you, they could probably pull up something similar where we read the data, we saw trends, we engaged multiple resources. This was a student that was the subject of a lot of wraparound services, and the intervention was that dramatic between October and November. Went from, again, one of our #1 referrals to a student who is making a lot of gains, a lot of successes. That what that looks like is attendance in class, far less incidents of disrespect, and engaging as a student, finding things that this person is really quite gifted at. That's what we're looking for. Is that indicative of every single child we apply an intervention to? No, but that's an example of when it works well and you have all these parties together. Again, the similar resources, familial conversations, how are we supporting the family because they have a student in this school and that school. But that's what we look at and go, okay, we're on the right track, we're doing the right thing, we're engaging the right resources.
Yeah, that is good to see. You know, it does seem
Pretty
like
dramatic.
a lot of, and I'm sure this is part of it, like a lot of the graphs on the referrals by month, you see that kind of trend of it's up here and then it comes down once things settle in. Like, I'm wondering if there's anything that we could do to either get that to drop quicker or kind of hit the ground running a bit more with interventions. If anything along those lines, like at the beginning of the school year. I'm sure that's the.
Yeah, I mean, I would say part of this year was if we were just fully staffed.
Yeah.
Specifically with, you know, we've partnered actually very well with Claire Martin. I think it shows when like they're fully staffed and able to support us at the level that we predicted going in. Like the results do look better. But, you know, that was an absolute challenge the last 2 years, is that we came into the school year expecting to have some behavioral interventionists in place, and they weren't there. So, I do think that that will make a big difference. Like, I would say specifically the last 2 years, that has been challenging.
Okay. All right, does anybody have anything else for social emotional data? Okay.
But I just want to be clear. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, right? Like, we've all had challenges around hiring.
Yeah.
But that has been challenging in the last 2 years.
Yep. All right, Tara.
You have my report. It tells you all the reports that are due for the business office this month, in addition to budgets and annual mailers. And then the rest of my items are your other agenda items. So I'll happily answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Tara. All right, policy committee.
So the C5, C6, C7 are all your third readings, and C8 is your second. As I said last time, C5, C6, C7, we changed the introductory sentence and added all the footnotes in regards to citing statute where appropriate within the policy. So those were the changes and revisions to those. And so you and the SU board are the only boards left to take action on those three, if you so wish tonight. And then C8, if you have any thoughts and want additional changes from the revisions I just mentioned in regards to those citations and changing the introductory sentence, let Rodney or I know, because that's going into its third reading as well. So that would start to get warned for action at the full board meeting starting next week.
Okay, does anybody, or I guess I would entertain a motion about C5, C6, and C7. And if anybody has any comments about C8, that would be a good time.
Well, I would move that we adopt C5, C6, and C7.
Second?
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Rodney?
Aye.
Okay. Nancy?
Aye.
Ed? Julie?
Aye.
Peggy?
Yep.
All right, that passes. Okay. Does anybody have anything to say about C8?
I have a question about it. Can you give me some examples of what these surveys are? Or with physical exams, I don't know what that's talking about, or what would be an example of something that would fall under this policy.
Sometimes it'll be like, not often, by the way, but it's typically like the YRBS survey can ask some questions that would fall under the survey. That's the one that we would handle most of the time that comes to light. And physical exams would be like in regards to our annual hearing and eye type exams. Yep. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
off the top of my head, those three are the ones that I'm most accustomed to
Okay.
in regards to.
All right, we're on to our discussion items. So starting with the final draft of the FY26 budget and the corresponding projected tax sheets.
So,
yeah,
on the expenditure budget, the updates that were made were what we talked about last week. We reduced the funds transfer out for the reserves back to the 40,000, and then updated the Tri-Valley Transit contract per Jamie's outline last week. So we're looking at an expenditure budget of $15,201,398, which is an increase of $819,305, or 5.7%. On the revenue sheet, we updated the tuition income based on your setting of the secondary announced tuition rate last meeting. And then lastly, on the tax sheet, I'll let Ray get there before I start talking through it. So we'll start up in that left-hand corner. Again, the expenditure budget, $15,201,398. We reduce that by your offsetting revenue of $1,508,922. That gives us an Act 68 education spending of $13,692,475. We divide that by your long-term weighted average, and as we discussed at the last meeting, we are using version 5, which had a few extra students in there for you. So it is 1,117.59, and that gives us the education spending per pupil cost of $12,251.79, which is below the excess spending threshold of $15,926. We then divide that per pupil cost by the yield. We continue to use the 12-1 yield as we haven't received any additional yield information. And that gives us an equalized residential tax rate of 1.4325. The non-residential rate is set by the tax department, and that's at 1.7910. We'll next go to the Bethel box. So we take that equalized tax rate of 1.4325. We divide that by the statewide adjusted CLA of 92.95%, and that gives us a projected tax rate of 1.5411, which is an increase of 0.0349 over the current rate. And then over in the Royalton box, we again start with that 1.325 equalized tax rate. Divide that by the statewide adjusted CLA of 99.30, and that gives us a projected tax rate of 1.4426, which is a reduction of 0.078 cents over the current rate.
All right. Is everybody happy with the budget as it is now? You know, I went through it and kind of just to see exactly what was changing, kind of categorize it a little easier.
I'm sorry, I forgot you asked for that. I apologize.
No, I actually did it. So
Sorry.
fine.
No,
I
you
talked
did
to
ask.
Tara about
Okay.
it, so we were on top of it. Basically, it came down to the teacher salaries was $285,000. Health insurance and other benefits was $150,000. The SU assessment was $236,000, and that's, you know, a lot of that was because we increased our pupils, and so that assessment kind of was more towards us than it had been in the past. There's the school-based clinician, which was, had been paid for with COVID funds and now is in our budget. And then basically $68,000 of other. So that adds up to the 842. And then we have our extra revenue to offset that. So anyway, I think we did wind up in a pretty good place tax-wise, seeing almost 8 cents decrease in Royalton, and it was just because of the really large CLA decrease that we're seeing the increase in Bethel, but it's a pretty small increase, and well within what rates have been over previous years. All right, anybody have anything else they want to say on the budget? Otherwise, we can look to move on that. And Tara, I'm sure, has some language that she can give us.
The motion is to approve the fiscal year 2025-2026 expenditure budget in the amount of $15,201,398.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. Rodney?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Peggy?
Yep.
All right, the budget is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. And Jamie, and everybody else. Okay, now on to the annual warning for possible action.
So I put it in this order, but just realize that what you decide in regards to the size of the bond is on the annual warning. So I did want to remind the board, like Sharon adopted their warning and we went through that, but then they were like, oh, we did just decide on our bond amount. So,
Should we hold off on this?
well, yeah, you may just want to talk about.
Let's discuss it and then we
Yes,
can
discuss it, don't
do
just
action.
vote. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay, so just as a quick something most of it's similar to what we've done in the past. We've added some articles about the bond vote, assuming that we decide to go through with that. But the exact numbers on that we can change. Talked with Carmen today, and at the end of the warning, it talks about the ballot boxing being sealed and transported to the superintendent's office. We'd like to change that, or Carmen would like it if we could change that so that they do the counting at the Royalton School.
And this one is updated in your
No,
packet.
this one isn't.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, I thought it was.
No,
Okay.
I did it after I had
Okay,
already
that's
gave you
fine.
all the packets.
Okay, this one.
Okay.
But Ray has the updated one on the screen that shows that, Andrew, the new ballot location,
Okay. Yeah, so it'd just be changing the,
right there, Ray.
that last paragraph to say that they would be transported to the
Royalton campus.
Royalton campus of the White River Valley School. I think that she'll find that easier to manage, counting the town ballots plus the
And
school
Pam was
ballots.
good with that too. You might have already said that.
Yeah. So there's that. Pam had sent one other,
I fixed the Pleasant Street.
okay, it was just another typo that she wanted fixed. Okay, great, we're on top of it. I don't see any other changes that we need to do. If anybody else has anything about the language here, now would be the time to speak. We can talk about the exact numbers on the bond section later. Okay. All right. What's next? Okay, so considerations for annual town meeting and elections. is this
Can I
just?
talk on that?
Yeah, this is your agenda for questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, I talked, like our illustrious chairman here, I talked with Carmen today, and her concern about elections in the future are that right now Carmen is our district clerk. She wears 3 hats. She is the town clerk, so responsible for all the town elections. She's the clerk for the representative elections for Tunbridge and Royalton. And then she's the clerk for the school elections with Bethel and Royalton. So this last election period, she had to wear all of those hats. And she couldn't be everywhere at the same time. And what we were talking about is the possibility of her being able to appoint an assistant district clerk, district education election clerk, who can oversee the elections, perhaps, as we've talked about, having the counting done wherever the head clerk is. So the head clerk would be there, but her assistant, or his assistant, whomever, would be overseeing the election stuff and the counting, but the town clerk would be there because the town clerk has access to all of the checklists, all of the computer software, and all of that stuff. But that was something we talked about, so that she wouldn't be spread all over the place, and she would actually at least be in the building.
Just a question, do you have a sense that she wants to keep being the district clerk? Because by statute, it doesn't have to be one of the town clerks. Like, we have other districts that elect a school district clerk that's not a town clerk. I was just curious.
She doesn't mind. She doesn't mind that, and she actually thinks it's probably easier because they,
I
as the
agree
town
with
clerks,
you.
they have the access to
In
that
districts
stuff.
where we do this, it's a bit clunky in a way, to be honest, but in those districts, the town clerks literally said, like, similar. They felt like they had too much on their plate,
Yeah.
and they just said, can you get it? They're still there running the election, but there's just someone else that oversees the counting and certifies the vote.
Yeah, I do think this probably will be less of, I think it was particularly bad in November.
Yeah, it
because,
was, yeah.
you know,
She couldn't do everything.
Right, and I think in the future, like I was not doing a bond vote at the same time that we're doing
Right.
the town vote is probably, or not town vote, but the national election is probably
Yeah.
a better idea. So, yeah. I mean, the other thing that we could talk about would be, right now, the Articles of Agreement require commingling the ballots. So we could talk about making it so that it doesn't have to be commingled, so the ballots don't have to be transported to a central location. But that's kind of a bigger discussion about, whether that's something that we would want to do, because then you can get, like, if one town votes for something and one town votes against it, and then there comes resentment or something like that could come in. When I was talking to her, she did like the idea of just having the ballots come to
one spot.
to one spot,
Yeah.
where she can be, and,
Right.
so I think if we try that for the year and then see how it goes, for this year, and then see how it goes, and we can revisit it.
Is that something that, wait, what am I thinking of? Because, coming up at town meeting, there's the school votes, and then there's the town votes.
Right.
So she'll need, do we want her to appoint an assistant?
Well,
She
she
already
can
has the
always
authority
use her
to do
Board
that,
of
yeah.
Civil Authority that way.
Well, but she uses them for the town stuff, too. So you've got the board that's gonna be split between two things here. But,
Yeah, I mean, she has the authority to appoint a representative in her place, which she did for this past vote.
yeah, she had Bruce do it.
Yeah.
But I think she's looking to make something more official so that that person can really get trained and handle pretty much most of the stuff, and Carmen will just be there kind of overseeing and dealing with the town stuff.
Right, but again, I think that she has the authority to do that as it is. Like,
Okay,
she
I
can-
don't think she's sure if she can or not.
She can,
Okay.
so.
And then just coming in on something else, when she's doing the election stuff for the town, she's paid as an election official. Do we want, if she appoints somebody to be the election person for the school district, do we want to pay that person some type of a stipend?
Is that, we have the stipend for the treasurer and is it something we'd have to have as another article?
You don't technically have to have it as an article, is what we've experienced in the past with other districts
For the clerk?
for the clerk.
Yeah, that's what we've been told. The board can assign the stipend.
What do people think? Ed, you had your hand up.
Oh, I was actually going to comment that I thought Carmen could appoint the assistant. And if she couldn't, my next question was going to be appointed or elected. And neither one I had a problem with. If that's what Carmen needs, I think that's what Carmen should get. In terms of a stipend, I don't have a problem with that. A reasonable stipend also seems legitimate if that's what we need to do.
Perhaps we should have had this discussion before we approved the budget.
I'm not truly concerned.
Well, then,
Yeah.
I don't think we're
fine.
talking a huge amount of money
No, we're
either,
not.
$100 or something, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing, I think Carmen said for the town, she gets $150 and then so much an hour. But I think that might be statute or something
Yeah.
to run the elections.
Does anybody else have any thoughts?
Is this something that we could do going forward after the stipend part that we could do going forward after we get out of town meeting season and all that? She could appoint somebody and then we could decide on a stipend a month later or.
Yeah, we could decide it whenever.
I say tell her to get the help she needs and we can meet about it and make it an action item after town meeting. It's not going to affect the budget that much, I don't think.
We could do it at our next board, Tara's saying we could do it at our next board meeting before town meeting if she wanted as well. All right, should we table the discussion for now then? Or,
Do we want to tell her she could look for somebody for town meeting?
yeah, that's entirely up to her.
Yeah, okay.
It's she's the clerk, she's the one who runs the elections. If she feels like she wants to appoint somebody to do it, if she wants to, that's basically up to her how she does that.
Okay.
Maybe somebody's gonna run against her.
That's possible.
It could be?
My sense is whatever.
No, I'm just
stipend-
saying, right, you're gonna elect a clerk that night, who's gonna assume.
Yeah.
We know that we're thinking it's gonna be Carmen, but
Right. That's true.
I'm just saying, this is voted on every year, it's,
Right. That's true.
that's all I'm trying, that's all.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? But I think the stipend would go to whoever that elected
Correct.
clerk is. And
Yeah.
if she wanted to pass it on to whatever appointed clerk, whoever she appoints, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
But basically, she's the clerk or whoever's elected is the clerk, and then they decide what they want to do. Okay, shall we move to the next? Consideration and approval of resolution ballot warning and bond vote at WRUDB Unified School District, possible action. So we need to settle on what we want to do for the bond vote.
So the first part of the resolution has to review the history of the prior vote. That's why it's on there, that's why those dates are still on there. As you read through the resolution, it then comes to current day.
Yep. Okay, let's go find it. So this is the resolution,
Yep.
not the ballot or whatever else.
Yeah, as you start reading the resolution, we have to put in, you decided originally what happened with that vote. And then as you get to page 2, it'll be what you're gonna decide for March.
Okay. I guess the one thing I would look to change is that the original, in the history part, it's saying including the 4,973 square foot Performing Arts Center, and then we don't change the description for what it's just saying, we're resolving to do those same improvements described above. I think what we're trying to do this time is not a performing arts center, but rehearsal space. So, I don't know if it would make sense to change that, be it for the resolve section to, at the top of the second page, to just list kind of the same stuff, but without, instead of performing arts center, it says rehearsal space. Just to make it clear that, we're not trying to do, it's, have that difference.
I agree with you, Andrew, because I think that was what the sticking point was in November, was that people thought that we were asking for something much, much larger.
Right.
Square footage is the same?
Yes.
I don't think we can change the whereas first paragraph. I think we would have to adjust it and.
Yeah,
I'm not-
I'm fine with that
No,
because
no, I'm just looking what we're gonna copy and paste
Yeah.
over the.
Yep, yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking out loud. Add it.
Yeah, I think it's actually good to have it listed with something different in the second part. So,
You can make that amendment tonight. That's easy enough for us to copy and paste over there.
right. So I guess if we did, basically, it would be it further resolved that to achieve, let's see, we're trying to, just continue to need to cap them, to achieve these objectives of public good, renovate and improve the Bethel campus and Royal campus by constructing capital improvements to the Royal campus.
Yep, including, and then you put rehearsal space.
Yeah, and I assume that 4,973 square foot is the total added space. Right here, the way it's listed here, it makes it sound like that's just the Performing Arts Center. But I think that that's more
Close
than
the
just.
corridor
Right.
as well, the entryway. as
Right.
part of it. Yep.
What is just the rehearsal space?
I'll get that information.
Or could we just not have the square footage listed? Do we need the square footage in there?
Our lawyer said we did last time.
Okay.
He's on vacation right now.
We can't get him on the phone for an answer in the next 30 seconds?
And we could name the square footage of the corridor and then name the square footage of the rehearsal space.
Yeah, because I would have it be a whatever square foot rehearsal space. And the tricky thing is because it's got the storage in there and it's got the corridor and we've also got,
Well, it does name the safe entrance
Yeah.
lower. Adding secure entrances and vestibules. Talks about the
Could
vestibule
we-
at the Bethel and White River Valley Schools, so.
Could we just say necessitating capital improvements to the Royalton campus, totaling, I don't know if this is doesn't include.
Well,
the
I don't know
workspace.
I think you could just say including a square footage, rehearsal space, because down lower, it talks about a vestibule.
Right, I just mean like, we're putting the square footage of the rehearsal space, but not the workshop area. Like if we just put like a total of 5,200 square foot addition that includes rehearsal space, vestibule, corridor, workshop area, HVAC stuff, like, so that it would not break it out by the rehearsal space and the non-rehearsal space. Unless there's something like, if the specific addition is above a certain square footage, you need to list the square
I don't
footage,
know.
but I'm guessing it's not.
Can I talk?
Go for it.
I wouldn't actually call it a rehearsal space, I call it a music room.
Sure.
To me, that sounds better, but you know, yeah, you gotta say that it's a workshop, we're redoing, you know, our workshop and music room and safety entrance, and all that. I mean, it's just, if we just call it a rehearsal space, it just seems to, doesn't give the whole picture,
Okay.
you know, that's what I think. anyways.
Yeah, now music room sounds good to me as well. You know, I think just not the Performing Arts Center, which the project never really was a performing arts center, as the public would consider a performing arts center. So.
I think we can do whatever we want tonight, and we'll send it to the attorney. If he says it's no good, we're gonna need a special meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so do we have a total square foot?
So the corridor is 700 square feet of that 4,900.
Okay.
I don't know, do you want me to back out the storage space as well?
No, more what I'm asking is the 4973 is just that part of it. What's the,
1,000 square foot addition for the wood shop?
yeah.
Is
So,
what that is, so that's not included?
so if we just said a 5,973 square foot addition to the campus, which includes,
The wood shop corridor, secured entrance.
Yeah.
And the new rehearsal space.
and that would cover everything.
Yep.
Does that seem reasonable to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have, is that enough for,
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have you guys read this as an amendment, because we're gonna need to amend this proposal that way. And like I said, we'll draft it and we'll just send it off. The last thing I want you to do is warn a vote and have it get challenged because of a technicality
Yeah.
like this. That's all, that's what I'm saying, I wanna have it
yeah, of
checked.
course. So, here's what I've got. So, at a duly warned and held meeting, I guess the other thing is like, yeah, never mind. Required the construction of capital improvements to the Royalton campus.
Where are we changing this? Are you changing it in the, be it further?
It's gonna be down on this page.
Right, okay, I'm trying to get it in the right section right now, so that I have it
It's
captured.
gonna be instead of saying that, as described above.
That's what I thought we were talking about. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so,
All the changes we're making is only to page 2.
Yeah.
right. So it'll be it further resolved that to achieve improve the Bethel and Royalton campuses by making a construction project including 5,973 square feet of
5,700.
addition,
What was the total square feet?
5,973.
Does it have to be the exact square footage? Because there could be some slight changes on that corner where we might cut out a few square feet, just depending on that kind of turn as you go into that space, where some of the winger space is. It wouldn't be significant, but like it could be 100 square feet roughly or so that has kind of come up. I just didn't know how exact, if we did something and then we cut the square footage by 100 square feet, would that,
I think we're fine.
okay, all right.
or would it make sense just to say approximately 6,000 square feet? Just to round it?
Sure.
Okay, so, all right.
I'm not a bond attorney.
Come on, Jamie. By making approximately 6,000 square feet of construction, including a music room, an addition of to the workshop area, installation of an HVAC system with heat pumps, and basically copying the rest of that paragraph. Heat pumps, dehumidification in the library and science spaces, upgrades to the sound, lighting, and stage access within, we do need to decide, are we including the gym upgrades, which would be the stage and gym upgrades, in the bond, or are we taking that out and having that paid for with private fundraising, and that'll lower the total amount that's paid and make it clear what the taxpayers are funding versus what private fundraising is funding, to some extent, because there still be private fundraising that's, like, I think the Byrne Foundation is still going towards the music room as well, but some of the other private fundraising would be spent on the gym upgrades. Do people want to go that route? I guess we need to make that decision before we settle on this language, because we would be taking that.
I was going to change that overall number. It would lower it because that
Right.
ECM would be out.
And that ECM was $350,000. So, and plus the 5% contingency, so it would lower it, $367 or something like that, $1,000. I assume we can take out the 5% contingency on that one part as well. Is that something, I personally think that would be worthwhile to do. It makes so that I think it's clear for the taxpayers, and also, we're not just coming back with the exact same thing. Does that seem reasonable to everybody?
I guess I have a question on when people pledged monies for the original project, it was for quote-unquote the Performing Arts Center.
Sure.
Which I think they were thinking the new addition.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is having the donations go towards the renovations within the gym. That's two different things.
Well,
Is that what people put their money in for?
well, it depends on what, so there's the small dollar donations, which is kind of what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Mhm.
We're more talking about a large donor, potential donor, that would be hopefully financing the gym upgrades.
Uh-huh.
So those private donations could still be going to the renovations.
Oh, okay, because,
But also, like, the Performing Arts Center kind of was, if you look at the website for the fundraising, it was both the gym upgrades and the addition. So I don't think that having those go, like, to one source or the other necessarily is different than what we'd promised.
okay, I don't want any issues. Well, I thought my money was going for this and not this.
Yeah, and, after the vote went down, they contacted everybody and asked do you want to leave your money or have it back? So they offered everybody refunds at that time. So, I think that is somewhat covered. But, that is something that the Music Boosters could also go back and clarify. I do think the other thought was, breaking out some of the parts of the additional space as well, to do things like the private practice rooms and maybe the stage lift as fundraised items as well, so that basically what we're providing from the bond that the taxpayers are voting for is just the space, and then kind of the extras or whatever would be privately fundraised. And that would be a way of lowering the overall cost, and just a little bit as well.
I also had identified about 65,000 in the wood shop that we had included in there for makerspace upgrades, which included kind of the welding booth, or like doing some welding exhaust, makeup air, and upgraded power for future welders in there. So I think that was, you had mentioned if there was any extras in there, that's stuff that we would need to make that space what it's supposed to be. But I know that there might potentially be grant opportunities for some of that makerspace stuff in schools, or could potentially be privately fundraised as well.
Right.
I think everything's in. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I think she's not talking to you.
Oh, whoops.
I don't think she's talking to us either.
What do people think? Do you guys have thoughts on do we want to just include everything, or try and pull out and make it clear what kind of the taxpayers are doing the basics, and then private fundraising will do kind of the fit, and then do we want to extend the private fundraising portion so that kind of do the same thing with the workshop that we are doing? Like, the problem with doing it for the workshop I could see is that, there is the boosters for the music side. There's not really a workshop boosters. So, I don't know. I'm sure there are people out there that would like to support that side of things as well. I don't know.
The only thing can I just add?
Sure.
That ECM for upgrading the gym is a separate aside ECM. I get a little nervous if we start to pull things out from the other ECMs and we don't come through all the fundraising,
Yes. I do think
because we have been holding performances in the gym.
Right.
I do worry about if we build this added square footage and then there's no rehearsal. If we don't build the rehearsal rooms because we didn't get fundraising, I just worry about.
Yeah, I think that the private
board having
practice
to
rooms
do deducts. That's all.
Yeah, the private practice rooms I could see being. Not an expert on these things, but I think they're the sort of thing that you can install. Let's say we don't get the fundraising this year, but we get enough over the next 3 years, and 3 years down the road we get the private practice rooms or something.
No. That's fine. I just think we got to be clear with the public.
Yeah.
If there's no fundraising, there's no practice rooms.
Right. And that seems. I don't know. I think that would be a positive kind of.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little concerned. I was a little concerned going into your last bond vote already that you had put a lot of capital funds toward this. You had really estimated fundraising to be high. I'm a little concerned about the scope of the project and lowering your bond amount too much.
Sure.
I just don't want us to be here a year from now and we didn't get the project completed to what we expected. That's all. I guess it's my same caution I have with tuition students coming in. I don't want to overestimate revenue. That's my worry.
Yeah.
We know it's a $6.7 million project and we're only borrowing 3.8. Already that seems like a lot of revenue. Now I know we have the capital fund to help make up a big chunk of that, but
yeah. Yeah, no, I was hoping that we'd be able to lower the bond amount. I'm not sure that it's feasible to lower the bond amount. I think what we're mostly talking about now is just the
overall
total
amount.
project cost.
Yes, I agree.
And yeah, what scope is the school doing versus the music boosters / private fundraisers.
That makes me feel better. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a dollar for dollar deduct of the overall amount versus the bond amount.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay. Then we're all talking the same language.
Yeah.
That was my worry.
I think, do you want to share what you shared earlier about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not feeling very optimistic about our COPS grant coming through for this year. We're gonna have to reapply, I think, which we will, but it doesn't look like, we haven't gotten the official letter, but it doesn't appear anyone in Vermont got awarded.
So that does make it, if we had positive news about that, then I think it would be possible to lower the 3.8 to
Definitely
something lower.
think that. We could have lowered the 3.8.
But without that, it's going to make it more challenging, and particularly if we kept the 6.757, like the full project cost in there, and we didn't get the fundraising, then we'd be short, basically. And so I think, like, making it more clear exactly what the bond is paying for versus what private fundraising is paying for makes it so that if we are short, like,
yes,
then we know this is, what's happening. Ed, had you put your hand up? I think.
Yeah, but it's a tad moot now. I was just going to say the only ECM that even I felt was a possible consideration. I don't think it's enough money to sway a vote that deeply, and that was the I think it was 4. I just don't think it would make a difference with that amount of money, and I think it would probably make more difference in what might be lost out on if we don't do it. And by the time you guys had got done talking, I was okay holding that comment, but
Okay.
seeing as you asked.
Yeah, so just to fill you guys in on what we discussed last time a little bit. So the Facilities Committee had met a few times. We were trying to find ways to modify the project to save some money. And there were kind of 2 main approaches. And there was one kind of detour that looked at a sort of different scope for the project, but then it turned like we decided that didn't make sense. The 2 main things were lowering the height of the rehearsal space, and also, like, there's the music room, and then there was also the office and the rehearsal rooms, and that space and the corridor didn't need to be the same height. Like, those could be shorter. But after running the numbers, I think it was like $67,000 that would be saved doing that, which is, peanuts. And then there was maybe 175 that could be saved if we basically took out the storage. So I don't have the thing, but like, there's the existing gym, and then there was storage space here and the hallway, and then the back of the rehearsal room. Like, if we basically had it just end at the back of the rehearsal room, then you avoid that corridor and this, and I think it was going to have to shorten that just a little bit. And that was going to save $175,000, but you lose out on storage, and it also kind of makes it less integrated into the building. So it didn't seem like that was worth the cost difference either. So those are the 2 things that were discussed before we just kind of were like, well, it doesn't seem worth doing those kind of deductions from what we were originally proposing. All right. So I guess, do we have consensus that we want to remove the stage and gym upgrades from what the bond is funding and have that privately fundraised? Yes? Peggy?
Yeah.
Okay. Ed?
Yes.
Rodney? This isn't a vote, just checking
Straw
for
poll
consensus.
to work
Yeah,
on
straw
warning.
poll.
Yeah.
Nancy and Rodney, are you guys there?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about it. I don't see where it's going to make a big difference, but I guess either way is fine with me.
Okay. Nancy, is that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay, and so that's that whole ECM, that was 350,000. Do we want to do the same thing with anything else in the main part? I think the main things were private practice rooms and, was it the stage lift?
Yep.
That
Yeah,
was-
it's acoustical treatments.
So the acoustical treatments inside the music room and the stage lift would be two other things that we could have be privately fundraised for a total of, I got it here. The acoustical treatments would be 174,000 and the stage lift would be 46,000. So that would be a little over $200,000. Ed?
The stage lift, that's for equipment or people or both?
Mostly equipment.
Isn't
But-
it?
But would it also bring us our stage to ADA compliance
That's in the vestibule side.
for a chair or someone with a walking disability?
Yeah, that's the lift that was on the other side, in the vestibule side, the entrance side. There was a lift over there for the ADA access to the stage. This is the like lift
Like an
for
elevator.
right, the equipment lift. Heavy duty lift, whatever it's called.
So we've already,
My first inclination is I'm not crazy about it for the lift, and I definitely don't feel good about it for the acoustical treatments. I don't know if I've said this yet, but I feel like acoustical treatments, particularly in the smaller rooms, are actually health and safety for these kids, and I think we must rather than we should, because we've got a lot of kids that love music, and we shouldn't harm their hearing just because they're participating and they love music. So
Yep, no, I agree. So just to do the math real quick, so we've got 6,757,758. That was the total project cost. And so we've taken out the 350. Probably should have this up on something that everybody can see, but so that's taking out 367.5 because there's the 5% contingency. So that brings it to 6,390,000. If we keep the bond at 3.8, 6,390 minus 3,800. So that leaves 2,590,000. We have the $500,000 burn foundation thing that is unaccounted for, or not. That would be towards this. So that's 2,090,000. That's left over that either we need to get extra fundraising for, like, I think right now we have 2 million in our reserve fund. So if we don't reduce it further, then basically we're going to need to get more fundraising that's dedicated towards not the stage and like stage upgrades, because that's not in this anymore, but just dedicated for this particular project. So either we need to increase the fundraising or, we do have 2 million in the reserve fund plus $200,000 of unallocated funds currently. We do need to decide what we're doing with that $2 million, which maybe should have been part of the budget discussion, but $200,000. Did I say 2 million?
Yeah, from your warning thing,
Yeah, okay.
the transfer
Oh, we already did, yeah, okay, yeah.
to the capital.
So with that, we would have 2.2 million in the capital reserve fund. So I guess that would cover that 2,990,000. But it does kind of basically take all of our capital reserves away. So I guess, like if we made it clear that, my thought is that if we made it clear that some of these other things, like if we had, $150,000 of whatever, that would make it so that keep some in the building reserve fund, or we can just leave it all in and we'll see how much of the building reserve fund is remaining at the end. Thoughts?
I think we're good.
Will you fix me? I got confused on one section.
No, I think we've got it. I'm gonna.
Have to update all the numbers.
Well, yeah, I don't think they've decided that yet.
Yep.
It's only this number.
All right, let me try and go individually here. So, do we want to do anything on the work, the workshop expansion? Like, the things that we could say we would like to do this, but we would like private fundraising to do that for would be, electrical upgrades or ventilation additions. That we could make the space and then add later if we don't get them, or, just have the extra space for cars and stuff like that, but not necessarily have extra welding stations if we didn't get fundraising. Do we want to try and get private fundraising for any of that, or just say that's all included?
I hate to be a stick in the mud, but other than rewording the Performing Arts Center to rehearsal space and improved acoustics, I'd keep it the way it was. We're killing ourselves trying to juggle numbers. And I would just keep it the way it is and reword that. Reword the Performing Arts Center to something.
We just call it a music room.
Yeah. Music room and rehearsal space, whatever.
Okay.
It keeps it simple, and we're killing ourselves trying to decide what we're going to move, where, how much it's going to be, how much we're going to fundraise.
Well, I mean, I think it's more like the fundamental question is, like, do we wind up, like, if we don't get any extra fundraising, we're basically using all of our reserve funds now. And, if that's what we want to do, I'm fine with that. Like, that's a choice we can make. If we decrease the scope of what we're funding with the bond, we're basically saying, this is what we'd like to do if we have the private funds to do it. The bond last time, we said, we'd like to do all this, and we were going to hopefully get $600,000 of grants and hopefully get $1.3 million of fundraising, but it wasn't clear like what would happen if that didn't come through.
If you had put in the blue one, because that's going to go to your house.
Mute, Nancy. There we go. Whereas if we, basically limit what's in the bond thing, then it's clear if we don't get fundraising, this is the result. Like, we're paying for this, we would like to do this, but it relies on the fundraising coming through.
But there's also the part in here, isn't almost all of this, they're all interdependent, other than maybe the security entrances?
Well, they are, but we're not talking about taking out like an entire thing. Again, like, I think the things that we're talking about taking out are like things that we can add separately. So let's say we, don't do the stage lift when we get the whole building done and there's no stage lift there. Like, we can still use that space. It's going to be less convenient, but we have, the stairs to get it up. We can get everything up to the stage the way that it currently is done, and it's going to be not carted up the stairs from the basement anymore. And in like 2 years, let's say we raise, $50,000 for a stage lift, we can put the stage lift in, and it's not a big deal. We're not talking about like taking everything out. Like, it's, we're getting kind of the necessities taken care of with the bond, and then extras would be done with the fundraising. And, you know, ideally, we get everything because we get all the fundraising we want. It's just like, if we don't, what happens? And I think, you know, if we don't, we can also be like, we'd like to use $50,000 of reserve funds for it. Like, we could do that. It's just, we'd be starting from, we've got $200,000 of reserve funds. Do we want to use $50,000 of that for the stage lift to complete the project? You know, that's an option after the fact. But then I guess, like, why are we, yeah.
I don't love the idea of risking that much of the reserve fund. That seems a little bit irresponsible, so I don't know. Like, I'd be interested in cutting a few things for fundraising only just to make sure that we don't dip into that if we don't need to. But
Okay.
that's like what you were saying, it's like the nitpicking the little things out, but I don't know, that seems like it's cutting it pretty close if we had to spend it all from the reserve fund.
I've lost track of what the bottom line was as to how much you were taking out by doing those separate things.
Basically, right now, if we don't take anything out, we're looking at using, and we get the bond, we're looking at using $2,090,000 for of reserve funds. We have, if the voters approve to transfer our current unassigned fund balance, we would have $2.2 million of reserve funds. So that would bring us down to like $100,000 of reserve funds. If, you know, so that's if we leave everything in. If we take out the stage lift, that would be
46,000.
46,400. The acoustical treatments would be 174,000. And then there was workshop options.
Acoustical treatment, you've already accounted for the 350 you've already removed.
Right. The acoustical treatments are for the music room.
Music room.
Right. Which we definitely need. Like, we need those
So-
acoustical treatments. But
So the 3.8 that we were asking for is only gonna get reduced by
Nothing.
Nothing.
a couple 100,000, 300,000?
nope, we're not able to reduce that at all. Jamie had shared that he doesn't think that the $600,000 COPS grant is going to come through. Like, we're more confident in getting closer to our fundraising goal than we were in November, but
Okay.
we're less confident in the grant. So it kind of has counteracted each other, so we're not really able to lower the 3.8 number. So what we're doing now is kind of clarifying exactly what that $3.8 million is buying the taxpayers.
Okay, thank you. I was losing track with all of this.
Yep, it has been a lot. So, I mean, the other thing that we could do is, you know, I am kind of loath to do the acoustical treatments and to some extent the stage lift as well. Like, I think that we definitely need those things. And yeah, that would be about $200,000, which would leave us, like, let's say we put those two, or took those two things out, then we would wind up with $300,000 in the reserve fund. What was I gonna say? But yeah, if we didn't get fundraising for them, then that makes it, like, I think it would be difficult to use the music room without acoustic treatments. So, yeah, I don't know. We can also fundraise for them with them still in the project as well. I don't know. So I guess let's put two options on the table. We've got one where the total project cost is 6,100 and what's, oh shoot, I need a calculator. 174 plus 46. Shouldn't have needed, okay, 220. 6,170 million, which does not include acoustic treatments and the stage lift. And we approved that total project number, and we are relying on fundraising for those other two items. Or we do a total project number of 6,390,000, and we're including those in the total project cost. What do people prefer? What's your vote? Straw poll.
Now, what was the difference, so what's the difference between the two?
$220,000.
I prefer option 2.
Right.
So that's doing the full amount. So Nancy's full
I
amount.
hate the thought of risking the acoustics and the stage elevator, whatever,
Right.
lift.
Okay.
I'll support the full amount.
Okay. Rodney?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm gonna say that we put out the full amount, because just cutting like a little bit here, a little bit there, it's not making a huge difference. Either people are gonna vote for it or they're not. And I can't see trying to cut.
Well, I mean,
little thing.
I think at this point, it's not just the approval of the vote or not, it's how much reserve funds are we trying to keep? Because if we don't get fundraising for those things and we wind up with, $90,000 of reserve funds at the end of all this, that puts the district in one position, whereas, if we wind up with 300,000 of reserve funds, that seems like a relatively healthy number to have. Go ahead, Ed.
I was just thinking, I could be incorrect, but the reason that we keep the stuff in the capital reserve and we tend to go towards bond is because it works better for us as a practice to have that money in the capital reserve in case and to work off a bond. So if that's been a best practice going through all the years and up until now, I don't know if we should change that as a best practice. We should have as much capital reserve as possible and work off the bond. But it seems like everybody's kind of headed in that direction anyway, so.
Well, yeah, I think that there are different discussions, though. Like what we're saying is basically what we're deciding now is how much of a reserve fund do we want to dedicate towards the project versus holding some back and saying fundraising needs to go for that particular portion of it.
The only other option is you guys have to increase your bond from 3.8.
Right, which I think is a non-starter for me anyway.
Right.
So what Andrew's saying is we either have to cut the scope of the project more to keep more reserve in place, or in order to keep the scope of the project that we're talking about, even removing ECM4, we're going to drain our capital down to.
And yeah, this is if we don't get more fundraising.
Right.
We could get that fundraising. This could all just be moot discussion. But I think we were a little wishy-washy going into it last time with our funding, where, saying we'd like to get $1.3 million doesn't really mean that much when you don't have that money in hand. So, I think if going into this vote, we should say, or not say, but assume, the fundraising is going towards the stage upgrades. We have the $500,000 burn foundation, which will go towards the music room addition, but not count on fundraising other than that for our planning purposes. And if we can get some of those other things, fundraised, either we say, fundraising has to do those things so that we have this amount in the reserve fund, or we say, you know, we're not gonna worry about it and plan on the reserve fund funding them, and it's a bonus if we get fundraising.
Yeah, I just don't really want to draw our reserve fund down that far.
So you would like, you would vote for,
On up higher, where we don't have to worry about the reserve fund, or, I mean, we can't count on the donations, because we don't have it yet. I mean, that's just, we're just guessing what the donations are gonna be. So we either borrow more to make sure we have enough, or not do it, I guess, I don't know.
I mean, one of the things that is, like, one of the things that's difficult with the fundraising, or it was difficult this past time with the fundraising, is we were trying to raise it all at once. And it was not clear what the fundraising was going for, other than, you know, this giant project, which I think is more difficult to sell to people to give money for, you know, because it's just like, help us, basically what we were asking before was help us lower the amount we have to bond, which isn't very inspiring for people. Whereas if we're saying like, pay this amount for these stage lights, or this amount for, you know, this, make the music room sound nice, then that is more clear what you're buying. Anyway, so it sounds like, Rodney, you're in favor of doing the lower amount for the total project cost. Peggy, you wanted full project cost.
Well, I guess
most project cost.
I guess I'm confused as to where the money is going. We're saying the project is, you know, 6 million? I mean, we've got 6,757.
So that includes the stage.
Which includes the stage.
Gym upgrades.
Gym upgrades.
Gym, okay.
Gym and stage.
Gym and stage, yes.
So we've taken that out.
So we take that out, so we take out the,
The gym and stage is getting paid for by private fundraising.
okay. And we are estimating that's going to be how much?
That decreases by $367,000. So you wind up with $6,390,000.
So there's that without the,
Okay. All these things, so that's how much the project would cost without doing those stage upgrades?
yes.
Yep.
And,
You take out $3.8 million that we're funding with the bond. You wind up with $2.59 million.
2.59, okay.
We've got $500,000 of Byrne Foundation money.
Yeah.
So that's money in hand that is fundraised. So that decreases the amount that we would need to spend from the reserve fund to $2,090,000. This is with $0 of grant money, zero extra fundraising beyond the stage.
Okay, because I think before, what were we looking for? 1.5 million in donations?
1.3.
1.3?
Yep.
Which now we're basically saying we don't want, we're reducing our expectations of
Yes.
fundraising. Okay.
So, I mean, that is kind of the other thing, is like, if we add in the 220,000, like basically take out the 220,000 for the stage lift and the acoustic treatments, we're bringing it closer to the original goal of 1.3 million. And, you know, just to confuse things further, when we done it originally, we were talking about, like, from the beginning, we kind of talked about 1/3 reserve, 1/3 privately fundraised, 1/3 bond, you know, for the performing arts side of things. We added a bunch of extra stuff in there, which made the bond higher.
Right.
You know, like, we weren't talking about that for the HVAC side of things, but just for the performing arts side of things. If you just look at the performing arts side, it's gonna be about $1.1 million for the 1/3 privately fundraised. So if we wanna stick with that, then we do need to add some extra kind of things that are going to be privately fundraised. Yeah. So, the 220,000 gets us pretty close, because 350 plus 220, that's pretty close to 5. We have 5 from the Byrne Foundation. That adds up to 1 million. And the 350 for the stage was kind of a ballpark figure, but that's the sort of thing where like you can spend as much money as we want making that gym super fancy. So if, like, let's say we raise 1.2 million, they can make that gym that much nicer with the extra money. You know?
I'm all in favor of that.
Yeah. They could use a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So I think that that would be a generally good approach of, you know, making it crystal clear what is for the fundraising and what is not.
So in this description, we would take out the upgrades to sound, lighting, and stage access?
Yep.
That's the one
Right.
phrase that
Well,
would be
when
taken
we,
out?
so we repeat that. So that has to stay here because this was the original bond amount.
Whoops,
But,
I've already taken out the sound.
Yeah.
but when we
But
put it in here,
writing
we
it in
would take it out.
We'd take that one, out, yeah.
And change Performing Arts Center to music room, rehearsal space,
Yeah.
or something like that. All right.
I can deal with that.
So you're
Yeah.
in favor of taking out that amount? So
Okay,
that,
I can deal with that. As long as
Julie?
we try to fund it.
Yeah, I want to take out and preserve the reserve fund.
Okay. Ed? Where are you at?
I actually didn't hear what Julie said completely, I'm sorry.
I had said to preserve the reserve fund, so take those out and do private fundraising for those things. Would be my vote.
I can support that.
Okay.
As long as the scope remains the same and we're still shooting for everything, I'll support that.
I mean, yes, I think we can say the scope remains the same. The difference is if we don't, like, we were initially saying we're gonna get this amount of private fundraising, but we didn't have any consequence if we didn't. Now there's a consequence if we don't. That's the difference. Although, we can.
I can go
choose.
for that too.
Okay.
So stage access within the gymnasium's removed as well?
Stage access, no. The ADA stage access is still in there from.
It doesn't
the
specify
lobby side.
ADA, but
Well,
it says stage access within the gymnasium.
yeah, that wasn't part of it. I don't know, stage access within gymnasium. The stage access was from the vestibule side and
The music
Music
side,
side.
I think.
yeah,
I think we can get rid of that.
sounds good.
I don't mean to muddy the waters, but I don't vote for anything that alters stage access for human beings.
No, agreed.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's not in there. It didn't seem like anybody had any, there was no momentum from anybody about making fundraising like part of the shop expansion.
I mean, I have an idea. I don't know. You were saying, oh, they don't have a boosters like music has a boosters, but they almost could if the kids and a faculty member formed a boosters. There's probably a lot of local businesses who may be interested in helping out in little, medium, and maybe even big ways with the kids' vocational education. So maybe it's just a question of we haven't asked enough.
Yeah, that's certainly true. So I guess the question is, do we want to modify the amount that we're allocating towards that project? Like we could decrease, like right now, that ECM is 350,000, is that right? The workshop expansion?
That's 385,000.
385. So right now, we're allocating 385 to the workshop expansion. We could decrease that and expect some amount of that to be privately fundraised. And if it's not, then we don't have as many welding stations.
I think the better move on that, because when this isn't a big ask for the Voc kids, 385 in comparison to what the project is. I think maybe the concurrent, like we put it in and have it covered, but maybe we should also try and fundraise a little bit for it so that we've got flexibility in funds when building. I mean, there's no reason not to do both, but I think we should make sure that the kids are covered for this because we're putting at least that much into the performing arts section we're doing a little something for the Voc kids too. I think that's good. And I think we should make sure that that's secure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it could be something similar to the other side where it's like, we're going to provide the space. If we can get people to help us make the space special, then provide extra funds and we'll add as much stuff as you want to add in, And we could have like a list of, welding stations are this much, whatever else is this much.
But did he say how much a welding station costs? I thought maybe he did, and I forgot it. It was
Yeah, it's 65,000 allocated for essentially, it wasn't specifically for that, but it was essentially just for those upgrades.
So those electrical upgrades to be
There's a
able to handle.
combination of electrical, exhaust systems.
Oh.
They kind of all coincide with each other, and there's some stuff in there currently that has some.
That would be hard to add after the fact, though, right?
Yeah. See, I don't feel as good about that. And like I said, the part of this that's the Voc kids, I feel that they're getting their share of this, and that reducing it might be inappropriate.
All right. Unless anybody wants to speak in favor of that, we'll table that or put that aside. Okay. So it seemed to me that we basically had consensus on reducing the total project cost that we are funding as the school board from $6,758,000 down to $6,170,000. And that funds everything for the project except the acoustic treatments, the stage lift, and the stage and gym upgrades.
So 6,170,000. What was your total? Was that your total?
That's it. Unless, sorry,
6,170,000. So I'm reducing it from $6,757,951 to $6,170,000.
yeah, I mean, I did some rounding in there, so. But does that seem reasonable?
I don't know, it's 9 o'clock at night. My brain's not
I
working anymore.
know, sorry. That was kind of back of the envelope math, so somebody should check me on this.
Well, I mean, it's the estimated cost.
Right.
That's what's the resolution is gonna say. The bond itself is not to exceed 3.8 million. So
Right.
like, I think we'll be safe.
I do too.
But, again, Jamie and I are not bond attorneys.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah.
I've read over that resolution a lot now, as these guys said.
Okay, work this out.
170.
Sorry about the long discussion here.
I had a feeling it might be, Andrew. I told you that earlier, didn't I?
All right,
6,170,000.
is there anything else in this resolution people want to discuss?
I'm gonna have you reread mine. Just to make sure I don't screw it up.
So the other thing is we decided to make the official information meeting the annual meeting. We will have additional meetings in advance of it to talk about the bond and all that and what's changed and everything. But the official legal meeting is that annual meeting. And you can see that it's had that article added to it, the annual meeting. All right.
So that's page 1, that's not page 1. I think I've got it right on the second page. All right, and then I need to pull the ballot and the annual warning. I gotta change it on those. I can't, Ray, is there a way I can print here? Otherwise I'll need to email it to Pierre to print. Okay. Okay. So when I'm done, Pierre, I'll email it all to you to print, single-sided.
So I'm just gonna change it on the ballot here, here, and here.
Okay. All right. so I guess at this point, are we at the point where we can approve the warning as amended? Everybody understand all the amendments? Looking for a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the resolution, what's the official title of the resolution here? Resolution of necessity for capital construction project as amended in the discussion, which changes the total project amount and the description of the project as discussed. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Rodney?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Peggy?
Yep.
All right. The resolution passes. What now? Do we need to now do the ballot?
Yeah, the only
Okay.
amendment will be that total number. The 6 million number.
Thanks, Eric.
Everything else is
Thank
good.
you, Eric.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the ballot as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I think Julie beat you, Nancy. All right, any discussion on this motion? All right, roll call vote. Rodney?
Aye.
Nancy?
Yeah, I'm not coming to find it tonight.
Nancy?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Peggy?
Yep.
All right, that passes. Trying to say those guys in order and they keep jumping around. Okay, so that's the two, do we need to change the warning? Do we need to approve the warning
Yep.
separately?
That's why I didn't want you to approve it yet.
All right, so the annual meeting warning now. We will be changing the total, okay, so we have the transfer to the reserve fund of $200,000. The other nice thing about taking out those funds from the total project cost is if we don't get this approved, then we're still able to do all of what we said we're going to do with the existing reserve funds. That was the other moving piece that we didn't really explicitly say, but I think we're covered now. So Article 9 will transfer $200,000 of the audited fund balance to the reserve funds.
We hope.
Yep, Article 10, so the Article 8 does the budget as usual. Article 10, discuss details regarding the bond vote. So that's our legally required meeting to discuss the bond vote. And yeah, then the Australian ballot. We've got the directors for 13 and 14 has the bond vote, which we would change the amount to be what we discussed. And then it's the same as the ballot language. And then we also changed the counting location as discussed earlier. All right, I would make a motion, or entertain a motion to approve the annual meeting warning as amended.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Okay, Nancy moved, Ed seconded. We have a motion on the table. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Rodney?
Yeah, aye.
Nancy? Nancy?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Peggy?
Yep.
All right, motion passes.
Tara's drafted all this. I just want to be able to give it a look with fresh set of eyes tomorrow to make certain
Okay.
we caught those numbers everywhere.
All right.
As
so
amended.
You want us to sign it tomorrow? Or?
Yeah, I don't want to try to sign it tonight. I think it's better to do it tomorrow.
Sounds good. Maybe have the lawyer look at it.
Yeah. Well, he's on vacation, but yeah. We would have to have a special meeting to change it that much.
All right, so we now need to discuss when we're going to have informational meetings and other important dates prior to the March votes. So I think it makes sense to combine the budget and the bond informational meetings. You know, I don't want to try and have like 4 meetings. So when would we be able to do those?
Haven't we butted them up to board meetings in the past?
That is true, we have.
Yeah.
So the February meeting is on the 18th. Could we do, I mean, you're going to be busy with the Sharon meeting, but.
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, February's, I don't have to be there.
Yeah, okay.
They're not doing an informational meeting other than their meeting from the floor.
Okay. So should we plan on 6 o'clock, Tuesday, February 18th? What on campus is that one going to be on? So that's going to be on the South Road campus. And then why don't we do a second one earlier than that? I'm going to not be around the week of vacation, and so you guys are welcome to do an informational meeting then, but I'd say let's do a Bethel one like at the beginning of February sometime. Does that sound reasonable?
Sure.
That sounds like a good idea.
We could do the first Tuesday of the month, maybe?
You can.
Okay.
You don't need me, right?
We always need you.
No, I'm just saying, like, no, we've got
Yeah,
meetings.
yeah, no, that's fine.
I would love to not do a Tuesday.
Okay. Make a suggestion. And we don't want to overload you guys with meetings anyways.
Well, I mean, yeah, you just may not, I don't know off the top of my head what my negotiation meetings are for Ed and I on February yet. Ed, did we decide on those?
Hang on. Bear with me while I.
And Ray, I don't think they're on the calendar.
while
Yeah.
Doing this.
Are they? Are negotiations on there? I don't think. I'm saying, are you seeing them? I can't read this.
What's that?
I can't read what's on your screen, so are any of those negotiations?
There's nothing on Thursdays.
Okay. Well, sometimes we're doing Mondays too.
I'm not seeing anything early in the month.
So maybe we haven't decided and we're gonna decide Monday night.
I feel like we haven't even picked, that we were gonna pick a date on our next date, is how I feel it was left.
So yeah, we have the 18th.
How about February 3rd, Monday, February 3rd?
I've got a meeting that night.
February 5th, which is Wednesday?
I could do Wednesday, February 5th.
Sure.
I'm gonna say I'll try to be there.
Okay.
I just
No,
talked to the
I-
evaluation committee. I'm trying not to be out 4 months a week.
I agree.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. All right. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
I mean, we also could just do one informational meeting, but then, I mean, we've always tried to have one in each town. So,
I mean, you've usually put together a slideshow. I mean, this is in 2 weeks. We're putting together your mailers. I'm totally,
That's true. Yeah, no, I know.
I'm just being realistic with like,
Got a
unless
couple
the
days to write the
board,
letter.
yeah, like,
And I, have 3 others that are at the exact same time, so I'm doing the presentations for all of them.
Right.
I mean, if
Do we wanna
you're
push it back
looking
one
for
more week?
central office assistance, I would say that 3rd week in February is your most realistic.
Well, that's when we're currently scheduled, the Tuesday, the 18th. So are you saying,
I'm saying you might do another one that week.
okay,
When's February vacation, the last week or the
It's the last week.
okay.
yeah, I'm gone from the 21st on, but I
So
could
you-
do like the Thursday.
I can't read this calendar.
Here, right here. So the week of the 11th, we have nothing currently.
Yeah, what about the week of the 11th?
That's the week I was calling the third
we
week.
we have nothing.
That's the
that
second
week.
week.
Well, it's the third week on that
Oh,
calendar.
sure,
I can't
Right.
read
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
You can't read the numbers.
Because
So they
Saturday
don't.
is the first, yeah,
So yeah, it'd be the second week of February.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
no, I
usually
think that would be
we don't
better.
have regular scheduled meetings.
I can't do that Wednesday. I could do that Tuesday or Monday
Thank you, Ray.
or Thursday. Could do any day but the Wednesday that week.
How about Thursday? The 13th?
Thursday the 13th works for me.
Thursday works for me.
I'm sure we will get overwhelming turnout.
What time for that one?
What time would you like to do it?
Should we do it early? Because the other ones are a little bit later. I don't know if we would get any other involvement earlier if the time is different. I don't know if the board has done that in the past.
Sure.
Like a 5 to 6? Or is that,
Um,
some people can't get off work maybe and be somewhere by 5?
yeah, I mean, what about 6 o'clock or,
Okay.
so 6 o'clock Tuesday or Thursday, the 13th, and it would be 6 o'clock on the 18th as well, since we have our regular meeting on at 7. That's good. It does give a little more breathing room for.
I just think to get a presentation together.
We're gonna have an intern though.
What's that?
We're gonna have an intern though, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah, so there is hope that we'll have some extra help with generating things for.
Hey, sorry, I just had to run to the bathroom real quick.
Okay. Are you, so what we do,
I saw my name on the chat log, so is there something I needed to attend to?
what we have decided on is informational meetings on February 13th, which is a Thursday at 6 o'clock in Bethel, and then February 18th at 6 o'clock in Royalton. Yes, because next month's meeting is in Royalton, so, yes. So those are the two informational meetings we're gonna do, which will be both budget and bond informational meetings. Okay?
Speaking of flyers, Jamie, I got a good comment from someone who thought the flyer that went out was excellent.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that.
All right, so that's that. We do need to do our board letter for the annual mailer. I'll work on a draft of that, if anybody,
Friday, ideally, we're getting to the perm. Well, just because we've,
We're
Oh,
up
I
against
know.
all the towns.
yeah.
and-
I'm gonna try and get it done.
We've run
next-
wicked close.
And it's first in, first out is how they run.
Meaning, I gotta have it in people's hands within 10 days of the vote, and we've cut it close a couple times.
Yeah. Could I have one or two volunteers to help with that? Just, proofreading and whatnot.
I can help with that.
Okay.
Sure, I can proofread. Help out.
All right, Nancy and Julie will help with that. I will be in touch. All right, anything else we need to discuss? I don't think so. I think that might be it.
Nope.
We've got the audit.
I need your acceptance of your fiscal year 24 audit, which I sent to you a while ago, and single audit was sent out the other day, which there were no findings.
Okay.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Team effort by far.
I would entertain a motion to accept the fiscal year 24 fiscal audit.
So moved.
Everybody has read every word.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We'll say Ed got that second. I think there were two people seconding at the same time. Any discussion on the fiscal audit for FY '24? All
No
right.
discussion, but nice work.
Okay, roll call. Rodney,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Peggy.
Yep.
All right, that's accepted. On to the public comments. Is there any public comments? Public? Public for at least another little bit, and then anyway. All right, new hires and resignations? Nothing? Other? You don't have any other?
Can I just quick briefly add just another? Has anyone heard of anyone that's working to get on the ballot from Bethel?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not heard of anybody.
I've
I've
heard of
been racking
nobody.
my brain.
If any of our Bethel residents know of anybody who might be a good addition,
Nancy,
Please reach out.
I do know that there has been social media discussion regarding the Royalton position on several locations. I don't know if any Bethel bulletin boards have even had somebody say, hey, is anybody interested? Which, if somebody's on one of the Bethel bulletin boards, it might be an interesting thing to just say, hey, there's a vacant position, if anybody's interested.
that's true.
Is there even a Bethel bulletin board?
And there's the Front Porch Forum,
Yeah.
and there is the Community Forum, which isn't like.
Nancy, do you want me to craft something for you to put on Front Porch Forum?
That would be great.
I can work on that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and I'll get it up on Facebook too.
Okay, great. Future agenda items. I don't think we have anything specific, other than doing lots of bond education and budget education. All right, next meeting date, Tuesday, February, well, next meeting date is Tuesday, February 13th at 6 for our special. Our next regular meeting is going to be Tuesday, February 18th at 7 p.m. on the Royalton campus. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Nobody wants to second that?
Second.
Okay, thanks, everybody.